My golden child brother took over the family business I built, so I made sure he ruined himself with it. My brother Daniel has always been insufferably entitled. From a young age, he was my parents' golden child, not because he worked harder or achieved more, but simply because he looked like dad and had this effortless charm. My parents constantly compared us, saying things like, "See, Daniel just knows how to talk to people. You could learn a thing or two." Every achievement of mine was minimized, while every mediocre idea of his was praised. He grew up believing the world owed him success because he was special. This entitlement followed him into adulthood. He skipped college after 2 semesters, quit every job he ever had, and yet always acted like he deserved more than anyone else. Meanwhile, I spent years building something meaningful. I took our failing family hardware shop, which barely covered rent, and transformed it into a profitable supply and contracting business. I spent countless nights at the shop, researched clients, negotiated contracts, upgraded our systems, and even handled the boring paperwork myself. Daniel never contributed to any of it, but the moment the business began to thrive, he decided it was his turn. He showed up to meetings uninvited, interrupted my pitches, and took credit for ideas he didn't have. When I politely corrected him, he smirked and said, "Relax, you're just the operations girl. I'm the visionary here." Even behind the scenes, his behavior was disgusting. He canceled critical orders without telling anyone, then gaslit me. "Maybe you forgot to place the order. You've been so stressed." He bragged to clients about imaginary expansions, promised services we couldn't deliver, and hired unqualified friends just to show off. Whenever I pointed out the mistakes, he rolled his eyes and laughed, saying I was too uptight. The insults weren't just professional. At family dinners, he mocked me relentlessly. When I mentioned landing a huge contract, he raised his glass and said, "To my sister, proving she can finally do something useful. Took her long enough." Everyone laughed, including my parents, while I sat humiliated. He had no sense of boundaries, no respect, and no shame. Then came the family meeting that changed everything. Out of nowhere, my parents announced Daniel would be CEO, while I would remain in operations. My brother beamed like he'd won the lottery, and my parents acted like I should feel grateful to still have a role. I had built this business from the ground up, and yet they handed it over to the child who had contributed nothing. I was furious, humiliated, and heartbroken. I realized that if he wanted control, I could give him control. I stepped back completely. I let him take the reins, make decisions, and shine. At first, he strutted around like the king of the company. He signed reckless contracts, overspent on unnecessary luxuries, ignored safety codes, and hired friends and family members with zero qualifications. I didn't intervene when he overpromised, double-booked jobs, or alienated clients. I didn't fix his mistakes because I knew he was about to crash and burn. Within months, disaster struck. Projects were late, clients pulled out, workers quit, suppliers refused to deliver, lawsuits piled up, equipment was repossessed. Daniel was drowning in the chaos he created, and my parents were finally forced to realize that their golden child wasn't infallible. He blamed me at every turn, saying I had set him up to fail or sabotaged him by stepping back. I quietly started my own business under my name. I reached out to clients who had left our family company, and they came running. I hired former employees who had been mistreated by Daniel, and together we rebuilt a company far stronger than what existed before. My brother, meanwhile, was unemployed, forced to live at my parents' house.